So I have a story for you today, and I know that it sounds absurd, but it's a real story, and it happened to me. I promise. What do you mean you don't believe me? All right, just hear me out. So you know how parents do the thing where they're like, don't stray from the path in the woods, and don't talk to strangers, and here, take this little basket to your grandmother. You mean your parents only do the don't wander off and talk to strangers thing? They don't send you off into the woods with a basket for Granny? Well, mine did. So I was walking along the path in the woods with my little basket, and I was being a very good girl and staying right on the path, but inside, of course, I'm like, I am not a child anymore, and I don't need to listen to your rules. And so this wolf comes up to me, and the wolf is like big and scary and all fur and claws and teeth, and it talks to me. And I know you're thinking, really? Wolves can't talk, but this one did. And it was very nice. It asked me where I was going, and it asked me once I said that I was going to my grandmother's. It wanted to know, like, how is she? It was very sad to hear that she'd been ill, and I was taking a little basket of things for Granny, so the wolf wanted to know all about that, and what path I was going to take, and when I expected to get there. And then the wolf was like, Little Red Riding Hood, you don't have to hurry so fast. Over there at those flowers, and there were these beautiful wildflowers growing all over the forest, but you'd have to leave the path to go pick any. And so I was like, I really think that my grandmother would like a bouquet of wildflowers to go with her bread and everything else that I was taking to her. And the wolf thought that that was a very good idea. So I go off the path and I start picking wildflowers, and I guess I lose track of time a little bit because by the time that I get to Granny's, well, she's still sick in bed, and I notice that she is looking a little bit strange. She's, just lying there in her nightgown in her bed, but she's bigger than I remembered and hairier. And I thought that that was very odd and not what you'd really expect from a sick person. So I go over and I take a closer look at the wolf in Granny's bed, and I'm like, Granny, what big eyes you have. And the wolf looks at me and is like, the better to see you with, my dear. And I'm like, Granny, what big hands you have. Well, the better to hold you with, my dear. Granny, and this is the only thing that I can think of to say because it's the only thing that I can notice as the wolf smiles at me. I'm like, Granny, what big teeth you have. And the wolf looks at me and it says, the better to eat you with, my dear. And then I was really lucky because at that moment this woodsman came along and he had an axe and he took care of the wolf, and Granny turned out to be all right, so we all lived happily ever after. Wouldn't that be a nice way to think that it ended? Hi, I don't usually break character and start explaining things, but in this case there is one thing that I wanted to mention. This video is about Little Red Riding Hood, and unlike a lot of the classic novels or stories that I have done on this channel, Little Red Riding Hood is a fairy tale, which means that it has been told many different times with many different endings, some of which are very happy and others of which are not. Sometimes it ends with the woodsman showing up and cutting Little Red and her grandmother out of the wolf's stomach. Sometimes it ends with Little Red Riding Hood having to outwit the wolf on her own and the grandmother remaining dead. Sometimes it just ends with Little Red Riding Hood being eaten by the wolf. So that's what I wanted to kind of hint at in the ending of this video, just to clarify.